Hey everyone, thanks for joining us for the Hutch Homes Group, and it's our weekly market update. And today we're going to talk about the age-old question of rent versus buy. And if you are liking what you're seeing from us, we would love for you to like and subscribe. So remember to do that.
And share.
And share. There you go. So rent versus buy. How many times have you heard people talk about this? I think the important thing that we want to go over today is just that there's some really like major things going on in the market at the moment that are really should make strong considerations into how motivated you are right now to buy. But so let's look first. We have a few things to cover, but let's look first at the financial aspect, because let's be honest, that's really the biggest thing that holds people back is they are afraid of the finances. So we have a few resources for you. One of them is this rent versus buy, a nifty calculator. I think it's a Nerd Wallet, which is just a good resource actually. So you put in, where do you plan to live? Portland, Oregon. About average price right now, $555. If you have people have a variety of down payments. We put 5% in here. A lot of people have more, some people have less, but this is probably the lower end of the down payment that we're used to seeing, but very common. 5% mortgage interest rate. We put in at 4.125. Obviously that is changing and that is going up. And so that is one of the lead indicators that we're looking at right now in terms of affordability. And a 30-year, most conventional loans are 30 years. So a lot of people are saying, oh, we're comfortable paying around $2,500 for rent. We hear a lot more. And then obviously we hear less, but so we put this calculator in and it shows, I don't know, Johnny, if you're the one sharing this, I think if you could click on that break even number, that's the cool thing about this is that it gives you the break even of what you're paying for rent and versus buying. You'll notice that buying looks more, sometimes can look more expensive. On this one, we're at the break even mark, so it doesn't. But if you look down on your cost breakdown, so not only do the numbers look good here, but you also have some really major things that will help you with your wealth. Mm-hmm. And that is your appreciation of the property. So historically, like with the ups and downs and everything in the market, right? Like historically, we see a 5% appreciation. Talk about appreciation. And that is something that you cannot overlook. And even though there's a lot of people are like, what about the crash? What about the bubble and the pop and the Great Recession and how everyone lost so much? Yes. And the people that held on to their properties have seen immense wealth right now, like immense. And that is something that is really important to understand, is that home buying and home ownership is one of the most accessible ways that regular Americans can get wealth in this country. So you can do it. You just have to have a plan, which is why we're helping you.
When you were sharing that calculator, the cost there, those costs that you're spending out in 6 years, you're never going to get that back. But the cost for owning and buying, you're going to have that back in equity. So I think that that's something that when you're looking at these appreciations, you should keep in mind with that.
Yeah. And there's the experts are still saying 6.8% over the next 6 years appreciation. So even though it seems crazy, how could we keep going up? Like there's
so can I talk about taxes now?
Mm-hmm. Taxes. Okay.
Well, look. Well, start off. I'm a newer citizen than any of my teammates here, believe it or not. I don't look it, but
can tell by accent.
Most of my life, I've been living in different countries where the tax system isn't so generous. And although we saw on that chart, it didn't allow for taxes. The government is almost giving us money if we buy a house. It's unbelievable. We have a standard deduction or a state and local taxes deduction against mortgage insurance and mortgage interest deductions. Mm-hmm. But also, there's things like more people are interested in having home offices now, and we can take a a deduction for a home office. There's
Mhm.
also energy credits. And then blow me, when we come and sell our home, we don't have to pay any capital gains tax. It's unbelievable. So we build all this wealth and we don't have to pay any taxes on it. It's amazing.
Unless it's over a certain amount and unless
Yeah,
it's you're not your primary.
That
The
sounds
average
true.
person, average firm.
But still, yes, it's amazing. It's really important.
It is. And I think another really important factor is like this built-in savings plan, like we talked about with this equity and what you're building. In 2 years' time, if you have an emergency or you choose to buy a rental, you have like this built-in savings because you've been building that equity that you can pull from whenever you want. It's a freedom thing, right? And then like with that, it comes the stability and the flexibility because you know that you're in your place, you're in your home, you're not going to be forced to move. You get to choose when you move, not someone else. And then, another, a big objection that people get is that they feel like they're going to be tied to this house and they're going to be house poor. I hear that a lot, and that they won't have the ability to travel like they want to. And I just want to point out that we've had many clients that have felt that way. And then once they get into their home, they're able to really budget more stringently because they know exactly what their mortgage payment is going to be for the next 30 years. Like, talk about freedom and talk about stability. So you can really, build in your goals around your budget and be very stable in that. And we found that a lot of our clients actually do get to travel as much as they wanted to, if not more. It's a lot of value in that.
And you can be the landlord, right? You can rent it
Yeah.
out. Like,
Exactly.
you gotta move, you can rent
I
it.
have some friends who owned a house for several years. They bought a van, they renovated the van to live in, they rented their house for a whole year and took off in their van, and their house was paid for because they rented it out. They didn't have to worry about
end up down by the river.
it.
It's because they had a predictable life,
Exactly.
right? They had that predictability where they had the fixed rate for 30 years. It's not going to change. Whereas if you're renting in an apartment, like, you might not get forced to move out because they're selling it. But here in Portland, you're allowed to raise rent 9% year over year. So that goes up, but you could start out at a $1,600 a month apartment apartment for 2 bedrooms. And in 5 years or so, you're up over $2,400. Another thing people have is fear of having to do repairs. But the coolest thing is when you're going into buying a home, you're having a professional inspection. You have an inspection period that you don't even have to go through with the sale. You know what you're going into. And that inspector is going to have a whole list of things that, will need tending to or could need tending to over the next handful of years. So you can prepare for that. And there's a great thing with home warranties when you buy a house that are a few $100s, and they cover things like your furnace, your water heater, and then also planning ahead, you can use a home equity line of credit that can cover some of these more bigger expenses, such as a roof. You use it kind of like a credit card that you don't have to carry a balance on.
Mhm.
Yeah. And like and a lot lower interest. Like
Yeah.
a credit card is what? I don't even know, like 15% interest.
Yeah,
Home
exactly.
equity line of credit is going to be a lot less than that.
Mhm.
And I think the last thing we should want to touch on is the freedom and the pride. So like when I wanted to be a homeowner and I was a renter, I wasn't even thinking about the financial aspect. I'm so glad I did it because now later in life, that financial aspect of homeownership has really, really done well for me. But I wanted to be able to paint my kitchen cabinets bright green. I wanted to be able to change my carpet in my house. I wanted to plant perennials in my yard, and I did all that. And that wasn't my house to do it on. And so I wanted my own home that I can put my own style into, that I don't have a landlord telling me, oh, don't paint the walls that, or have to paint it back when I move. And now, I'm working on a kitchen remodel, and every single dime I'm putting into that kitchen remodel is investing. It's investing in myself, and definitely like you get to have that pride and ownership.
I think that's a big deal. It's great. I always think when we do a little project in the home, a new fireplace, a new driveway, barbecue pit, whatever, it's going to add value to the home. So it's
And your own life, because it's your comfort, it's your
Mhm.
space, and
Yeah.
you can do what you want with it. I mean, how many times have you, if you're a renter, like notice that the carpet is disgusting and you want it changed, but you can't get your landlord to do that. When are they going to do it? When they feel like it, or have never.
When you
So,
move
like,
out.
The next renter.
in
Yeah.
the next winter. So I think that, I mean, I just wanted to touch on that because we hear stories like that all the time of
Yeah.
not being able to do what they want with their space. And like, that is the most important aspect of home is it's your safe space, right?
Definitely.
Mhm.
And hopefully that was helpful. There's a lot of stuff we can like dive into further in terms of what your situation is. But these are important things that not to overlook and not to feel like defeatist, like, oh, well, I don't have the down payment today, so I can't do it ever. We hear that a lot, and you just need a plan. That's all you need.
Got a plan.
Yeah.
It's a-
That's what we're good at. So reach out to us. We are happy to help. And we really believe in home ownership and want to get you into a house.
Yes.
And like and subscribe.
Yeah. Have a
Have a
good
good
week.
week.